It's been called the Road to Hell, one of the world's most notorious wilderness roads, twisting 1,387 miles from Canada's remote backcountry north to the last frontier. In 2017, the famed Alaska Highway celebrated its 75th anniversary. Channel 2's road tripping crew, Blake Essick and Nikki Carvajal, take to the Alcan to highlight the route's unique beauty, rugged history, and most notable attractions. And that's where our road trip begins.
We're here at historic milepost 0 of the Alaska Highway in Dawson Creek, British Columbia. From here, we're about to travel more than 1,300 miles north to Alaska to celebrate the 75th anniversary of the Alaska Highway, also known as the Alcan. Now, before we get started, this road definitely has a notorious reputation, and so because of that, I want to talk to a few people to find out what we can expect.
Just be careful and hope for the best.
Don't come and try to do it in a day or 2 days or even a week.
Some of the war stories, of course, is tires, rims, shortage of gas.
I'm not very good with roller coasters and high places, so it's been kind of white knuckle for me.
Strategy, take lots of time.
If you're definitely going to drive, make sure you have enough food, bring an extra gas can. When you've prepared and you think you have enough money, bring a little extra.
We actually haven't had any problems, so other than on the tires and rims. We learned some lessons there.
You can't rush it on a bike. Things happen a lot quicker. And I found, you know what, you just have to stop every hour and a half, 2 hours, just to rest.
If you head north on the Alaska Highway, you're going to get some of the most amazing mountains, trees, rivers.
They got to see it to really believe it.
This is a trip of a lifetime.
Don't hesitate, go do it. You're never too old to drive the Alaska Highway.
Before we hit the road and start moving forward, we wanted to look back at the history of the Alaska Highway. It's a story of cooperation between two countries and a technological achievement that it's hard to imagine matching even today. And there's no better place to learn than here at the Alaska Highway House.
The engineers overwhelmed small towns like Dawson Creek, British Columbia.
I can't even imagine. Can you imagine a road even being like the permit signed in under 9 months now? Like, I have no idea how they did it.
Sometimes stress is the best motivator. And if you read between the lines on the walls of the Alaska Highway House, you can see how it sometimes pays off. It's hard to think of a time in American history where the country was under more stress than in 1942.
It all started because of the attack on Pearl Harbor.
The United States was under attack. A once unimaginable problem was going to need once unimaginable answers. We needed a road connecting the railway in Dawson Creek, British Columbia, to strategic locations in Alaska, and we needed it fast.
They hadn't surveyed the road before they originally went up.
Construction started on March 8, 1942. It would take more than 11,000 soldiers. A third of the men were from African American regiments. Things sped up after the Japanese invasion of the Aleutian Islands Kiska and Attu. In September of that same year, crews working in both directions of the highway met up at Contact Creek. And then, by the end of October, these sounds were replaced by this. Listen.
Symbolizes the opening of the Alcan Highway.
In just 9 months, less than a year, the United States had built 1,300 miles of road. But it came at a price. Many of the soldiers who built the road had no idea what they were signing up for. In a PBS documentary that plays at the Highway House Museum, one man remembers the shock.
A DA tractor, I'd never seen one before. At 21 years old, and I wasn't prepared, I'll guarantee you. I'll guarantee I wasn't prepared.
The military itself seemed unprepared too.
A lot of the clothing and stuff like that we have up, hanging up, is the stuff that they would actually wear in our minus a million degrees here. So I don't know how they did it.
In their rush, soldiers sometimes took dangerous risks. A memorial now stands at Charlie Lake where a crew was trying to move gear across the water in bad weather. Their pontoon was swamped. 12 men died. All across the road, men lost feet, hands to the cold.
Tractor operators were found along the road, sitting by their parked equipment and crying violently.
In the warmer months, a whole different set of problems.
In the deep of the woods is incredible. Like, I can't imagine the bugs and everything that they'd have to put up with.
It was more than just an annoyance. There are stories of horses dying from too many bites. It's hard to imagine, but it was a way to save the country and a way for the men who worked on the road to leave their mark on the world. And while they wouldn't do it again, it's a legacy no one can take away. And it all started here in Dawson Creek, a city originally built on agriculture. But it was the Alaska Highway that put it on the map. 75 years later, Dawson Creek is a destination in itself.
Coming up, we hit the road and head north to meet a man who's been collecting pieces of the Alaska Highway for decades.
And if you're going to stop and stretch your legs along the way, this place is as good as it gets.
We're here at mile 300 of the Alaska-Canada Highway, Fort Nelson, population 3,300. And all along the way since we left Dawson Creek, we've been told we have to meet Marl Brown, which is why we're here, the Fort Nelson Heritage Museum.
Well, he won't admit it.
Just ordinary, everyday old Brown.
85-year-old Marl Brown is anything but ordinary.
I own quite a few vehicles.
He first arrived in Fort Nelson back in 1957, serving as a highway mechanic for the Canadian Army. 30 years later,
we opened in '87.
Brown turned Fort Nelson's discarded past into a present-day treasure.
I just seen so much stuff being destroyed and thrown away, and I thought, it's time somebody hung on to a bit of it.
Over the years, Marl's collected a little bit of everything, from old tools and typewriters to anything with 4 wheels and a motor.
Yeah, I guess I was bit with the old car bug.
After decades of collecting, Marl says he has no idea how many vehicles he owns. But when it comes to which is his favorite,
it's not a Model T. It's a Buick.
Age before beauty.
For its 100th birthday, we'll take it out for a little drive. So we loaded up and we drove it to Whitehorse and back. It was 100 years old.
Marl says top speed on his 1908 Model 10 is about 45 miles per hour, but he averaged about 25 on his trip up north.
You missed 90% of the, yeah, so slow down.
It's great.
Whatever you do, don't get in a hurry.
This doesn't look like if I sat in the seat and tried to drive it that I would make it very far.
No, you better take some lessons.
So that's exactly what we did.
That pedal is reversed. So you want to go in reverse, you just hold it down, eh? This is emergency brake. There's your throttle, your gas.
Oh, wow.
Despite my desire to get behind the wheel, I thought it best to let experience lead the way.
We got the door. Is that a problem? All right, let's go for a ride.
For about 5 minutes, I set shotgun as Marl and I took a spin around the museum in what he calls his Mutt Model T.
Give me the old,
a front row seat to Alaska Highway history.
That's all the time we have here at Fort Nelson. Time to hit the road and head north. And we're going to take Marl's advice, take it nice and slow to enjoy everything that the Alaska Highway has to offer.
From Fort Nelson, we've got about 200 miles before reaching our next destination. The perfect place to relax the mind, body, and soul, the Alaska Highway's hottest stop.
Since leaving Fort Nelson, the drive through the Canadian Rockies has been absolutely spectacular.
We have seen some of the most amazing sights that we've had the whole drive. We've seen beautiful mountains, lakes and creeks. Muncho Lake had this beautiful crystal clear blue water. It's been amazing.
While we still have a long way to go, there's probably no better place to stop along the way than right here at Liard Hot Springs.
Let's go.
Let's do it.
Every time we drive up and down the Alaska Highway, we always stop at Hot Springs. You have to. It's a must-do. You know, it's so beautiful. Where else would you get such natural beauty? And it's just so gorgeous. We love it.
After drying off and deciding who was going to drive, Blake and I were back on the road. This time, we made it about 100 miles before reaching mile 567, Contact Creek, a special place in Alcan history. It's where soldiers building the highway from the north met up with soldiers building it from the south, each crew working for 8 months to make the remote highway a reality, meeting up at Contact Creek on October 25th, 1942.